They never teach you this in school. Not in the soft speeches of graduation day, not in the glossy pamphlets selling dreams of comfort. But the truth, raw, sharp, and unfiltered, is this. Dependence is a prison cell dressed in luxury. It hands you a pillow, dims the lights, and slowly robs you of your power. That's how most men fall, not by one grand mistake, but by thousands of tiny comforts they mistook for progress. Michael learned this late. He was a contractor in Chicago, smart, likable, always ready to lend a hand. But over the years, he began leaning on others for approval, on systems for security, on relationships for emotional shelter. It seemed harmless. He was being practical, humble, even kind. Until one day, his business collapsed under a city zoning change. Friends who once praised him vanished. Clients disappeared. He wasn't hated. He was simply forgotten. That's when he realized, the moment you depend, you hand over the steering wheel of your life. The world isn't cruel, it's indifferent, and indifference is lethal to those who wait to be saved. Why would anyone else carry your weight while climbing their own mountain? Dependency is always a silent trade, your power in exchange for their favor. And every favor is a leash, and every leash has a master. If you wear it, you're not the master. Philosophers like Machiavelli understood this. He wasn't advocating cruelty, he was illuminating survival. People are selfish, not because they're evil, but because life is hard and everyone is scrambling. In that scramble, only the strong protect themselves. To be strong, you must be self-sufficient, not in some macho fantasy, but in the deep discipline of mastering your own life. That means you stop waiting for rescue and you start building control. Control over what? Over your thoughts, emotions, time, habits, and choices. The world's most powerful weapon is not brute strength. It's invisible. It's control. And here's the truth. The man who controls himself cannot be controlled by others. That's what made Michael's transformation possible. He stopped blaming. He stopped reaching. He became accountable to no one but himself. Slowly, his business returned, not by favor, but by strategy. His voice deepened, not in pitch, but in weight, and those who once pitied him began listening again. But this time, on his terms. If you want true freedom, you must earn it by refusing to lean, by choosing discomfort over dependence. And that choice, it starts in the smallest places, when you wake up, when you face fear, when you feel the urge to blame. You reclaim your power, not all at once, but inch by inch, until one day you look around and realize no one owns you, not their approval, not their support, not even their love. Now ask yourself, who or what do you depend on right now? What invisible leashes are you wearing? Be honest, because honesty is the first step to power, and power, it begins here, right here where dependence ends. Tomorrow, we break down what control really looks like, not the illusion, but the structure. But for now, write this down and mean it. Control is my weapon. Say it, think it, own it. Because the man who carries that weapon walks unchained in a world full of leashes. Power is not gifted. It is engineered, calculated, built, and defended with discipline sharper than any blade. And at the core of it all lies one thing: control. Not control over others, not yet, but control over the only kingdom you can truly rule, yourself. Michael understood this as he rebuilt from nothing. No more leaning, no more hoping others would choose his success. He began studying, not business books, not motivational fluff, but psychology, human behavior, and the cold strategies of men who survived the worst and rose the highest. One message echoed through history, from ancient emperors to modern leaders: control is everything. So what does control look like? Not volume, not aggression. It's not about being the loudest man in the room. In fact, true control is quiet. It's the silence that unnerves, the calm that unsettles, the poise that disarms. When others are reactive, the man of control is deliberate. When others lash out, he calculates. When others beg, he builds. It begins with your emotions. Anger, predictable. Lust, exploitable. Doubt, paralyzing. Every emotional impulse you indulge is a breach in your defenses. The world sees it. Opportunists sense it. And in a world built on ruthless competition, showing your inner chaos is like bleeding in shark-infested waters. The predators will come. They always do. Machiavelli wrote that men are motivated by fear and gain. Learn what others fear, and you possess influence. Learn what they crave, and you hold leverage. But here's the deeper truth. Before you manipulate anyone else's fears or desires, you must master your own. That's where real power starts. Ask yourself this: who pulls your strings? Is it anger when you're disrespected? Is it fear when your future feels uncertain? Is it the opinions of strangers, or the ghost of your past failures? Cut those strings, burn them if you must, because as long as someone, or something, pulls them, you are not free. You're a puppet, dressed in pride but controlled by weakness. Michael stopped being a puppet the day he stopped justifying his impulses. He built discipline, like a muscle. He woke early, not for motivation, but for dominance over himself. He trained his mind the way soldiers train for war, not to feel good, but to survive, to win. And over time, his calm became his signal. People noticed. They leaned in. They respected the silence, because silence from a composed man speaks louder than any scream. Control is not about domination of others. That comes later. First, it is self-mastery. The anatomy of control is built in silence, forged in discomfort, and wielded with intention. If you cannot govern your own mind, someone else will. Always. Now, carve this truth deep into your thoughts. Write it, speak it, commit to it. I pull my own strings, not tomorrow, now, because every moment you don't claim control, the world makes your decisions for you. And trust me, this world doesn't care whether you rise or fall. In the next part, we will strip down morality, not to destroy it, but to reveal how it's been weaponized to keep you docile. Until then, remember this: control is not a trait you're born with. It's a discipline you build, and those who master it become unshakable, unstoppable, untouchable. They told you to be kind, to forgive, to turn the other cheek, and you listened, because it sounded noble, elevated, even divine. But what if I told you that morality as it's taught is not truth? It's control. A script written by the powerful to keep the obedient in line. This isn't about rejecting decency, it's about seeing the game behind the curtain. Morality is not universal. It shifts from culture to culture, century to century. What is celebrated in one age is condemned in another. That alone should tell you something. It's a tool, not a law. Michael wrestled with this after being burned by those he trusted most. He had played by the rules. He forgave when he should have punished. He gave when he should have withheld. And every time, he paid the price. It wasn't because he was too kind. It was because he believed kindness guaranteed protection. But the world doesn't reward good men. It rewards strategic men. Machiavelli exposed this centuries ago. Men are ungrateful, fickle, liars, and cowards. Harsh, yes, but look around. Is it untrue? The colleague who smiled at you while angling for your job. The partner who vanished when things got hard. The friend who turned cold the moment you stopped being useful. Morality didn't protect you from them. It blinded you to their motives. This doesn't mean you must become cruel, but you must stop being predictable. Stop giving kindness where it's not earned. Stop offering mercy that weakens your position. Use morality like a mask. Wear it when it serves your purpose and remove it when it doesn't. This is not betrayal. This is clarity. Dark psychology teaches us people crave order, but they also crave power. They will smile as they sharpen their knives. They will preach morality while breaking it in secret. If you cling to moral fantasy, you will bleed in silence. But if you see through the illusion, you begin to control the game. Michael's turning point came not with vengeance, but with awareness. He stopped expecting fairness. He stopped waiting for others to reciprocate. He chose strategy over sentiment. That choice didn't make him ruthless, it made him free. Morality is not your enemy. Dependency on it is. You must wield it with intention. Give mercy when it strengthens your hand. Offer kindness when it bends others to your will. But never give these things blindly. Never depend on them to save you. Cold? Perhaps. But cold is clarity, and clarity is the seed of power. In a world built on masks, the man who sees through them walks untouched. Now ask yourself, how many times have you suffered not because others betrayed you, but because you expected them not to? This is your awakening. If you're still listening, it means you're ready to step outside the illusion, to stop playing their game, to start building your own. So write it down. Speak it out loud. Clarity is power. Etch it into your habits, your decisions, your expectations. Next, we explore the weapon sharper than morality, sharper than even love. Fear. Not as a victim, but as its wielder. Because when you understand how fear works, you begin to bend the world without ever raising your voice. Fear is the invisible sword that cuts deeper than any threat. It doesn't need volume. It doesn't need chaos. Real fear is quiet, and when you learn to wield it, not as a reaction, but as a tool, you become untouchable. Michael had always avoided conflict. He believed that love built bridges and that loyalty was eternal. But when his world collapsed, those bridges burned quickly. Loyalty vanished with opportunity. The people he once protected with kindness disappeared when he needed them most. That's when he understood what Niccolo Machiavelli meant when he wrote, "It is safer to be feared than loved." Why? Because love is fragile. It depends on mood, on memory, on reciprocity. People love you today and betray you tomorrow, but fear stays. It lingers in the mind. It shapes behavior. It makes others think twice before crossing a line. This isn't about becoming a tyrant. It's about understanding influence. People are not ruled by logic. They are ruled by emotion, and fear is the most powerful emotion of all. The fear of loss, of rejection, of pain, of being exposed. Learn what someone fears, and you hold the keys to their behavior. But first, you must conquer fear within yourself. That's the paradox. You can't use fear if fear still uses you. What still frightens you? Failure? Loneliness? Death? Good. Now confront it. Sit with it until it loses its voice. Only a man who fears nothing can make others tremble. That's not arrogance. That's mastery. When Michael returned to rebuild his life, he didn't seek admiration. He projected presence. He became calm in storms, silent in noise, immovable when others wavered. He stopped chasing love. He radiated certainty. And with that came respect. Not the friendly kind, but the kind that kept betrayal in check. Fear, when used wisely, doesn't require threat. It's not raised voices or angry stares. It's in your posture, your stillness, the way you look someone in the eye without blinking. It's in your silence that says, "I'm not a man you can manipulate." The world is filled with people who want to test your boundaries, but they hesitate before testing a man who radiates the quiet weight of consequence. That is psychological warfare. You don't need to punish. You only need to let them feel the possibility of punishment. Now ask yourself, who fears you? Not because you're cruel, but because you're solid. Because your standards are clear. Because crossing you means something. If no one fears the loss of your respect, your time, your presence, then your boundaries are weak. And weak boundaries invite chaos. Type this into your mind, into your habits, into your posture. I'm the fear they feel. Not out of pride, but out of necessity. Because without fear, power dissolves. Love may inspire, but fear ensures. And when the world understands that crossing you comes with cost, you will never be taken lightly again. Next, we go deeper, into the realm where control becomes invisible, where influence isn't forced, but woven. Welcome to the art of manipulation. Not as a villain, but as a strategist. Control is not about force. It's not about shouting commands or pounding the table. True control, the kind that lasts, is invisible. It's the art of bending the world without leaving fingerprints. It's called manipulation. And whether you accept it or not, it's happening all around you. Michael didn't always understand this. Like most men, he believed in fairness, logic, persuasion. But logic rarely moves people. Emotion does. People don't respond to facts. They respond to stories, to promises, to the quiet pull of their own desires. That's the first law of manipulation. Never push, pull. Every human being is ruled by two forces, desire and fear. Understand what someone wants most or what they fear losing, and you control their decisions without them ever knowing it. You don't argue, you dangle. You don't threaten, you imply. You become the mirror in which they see what they crave or dread. This isn't evil. It's nature. Every politician, every CEO, every leader who has held power for long has mastered this. They don't beg, they don't justify, they orchestrate. And the people move as if it were their idea all along. But here's the danger. Manipulation without self-control becomes chaos. If you manipulate others without first mastering your own impulses, your pride, your ego, your impatience, you will self-destruct. That's why Stoicism isn't just a philosophy, it's armor. Michael began practicing restraint. In meetings, he said less. In arguments, he paused. In negotiations, he listened more than he spoke. He studied people, not what they claimed, but what they revealed in silence. Their tells, their insecurities, their unspoken needs. That's where real influence lives. Once you know what drives them, you lead without appearing to lead. Manipulation is not about deceit, it's about design. You design environments, you shape conversations, you guide choices, not with pressure, but with precision. That's how you pull strings without becoming visible. And here's the beauty. When done right, the puppet believes he's dancing on his own. Want influence? Then speak less. Watch more. Notice the way their tone shifts. Notice what jokes they tell twice. Notice what they avoid. People are books written in the margins, and most never bother to read them. Once you can read them, you can write them. But never forget this. Respect the people you manipulate. Use them, yes, but never let your use become cruelty. Because pawns, when disrespected, turn into saboteurs. But when they feel valued, they become loyal protectors. Just never forget, they're pawns, not partners. And above all, never depend on anyone, because dependence is a trap, even when it wears the face of loyalty. The man who manipulates but also leans is a fool with temporary power. The man who manipulates from independence, he's untouchable. Now declare it. In your actions, your posture, your habits, I pull the strings. Say it to yourself until it becomes reflex. Because if you don't, someone else already is. And you may not even see the strings tied around your own throat. In the next part, we build the inner architecture, the fortress of mind that makes manipulation sustainable, powerful, and permanent. Because without mastery of self, every empire collapses from within. Power built on performance alone is fragile. Power built on perception alone is illusion. But power built on inner discipline, that is a fortress. And a fortress, once fortified, does not fall. Michael's ascent was not just about learning how to move others, it was about mastering himself. Because he understood this simple law, a man who can be rattled can be ruined. Self-mastery is not optional, it's foundational. If your mind is weak, your empire is temporary. So he began the real work, the unseen work, not in public meetings or grand gestures, but in silence. In the early mornings, in the late nights, training his thoughts the way a warrior trains his weapon. That's what building a fortress mind looks like. Imagine your mind as a castle. Every emotion you cannot control, fear, rage, envy, is a crack in the wall. And the world? It's always searching for those cracks. Rivals test your patience. Opportunists test your values. Even friends, without knowing it, test your discipline. If they find a weakness, they will press on it. It's not cruelty, it's nature. The only defense is this: become unshakable. Not numb, not cold-hearted, strategic, stoic. You feel everything, but you control what shows, because if the enemy can read your reactions, they can write your fate. Michael learned to control his anger, not by bottling it, but by observing it. He trained himself to recognize triggers and dismantle them before they took hold. He strangled impulsiveness, starved distraction, built routines that turned chaos into structure. Day by day, the fortress walls rose higher. The effect? People could feel it. They didn't know why, but his presence shifted the room. His silence became a weight, his calmness a challenge. Because when a man stands unmoved in the face of pressure, it forces others to question their own strength. That's power, not volume. Not bravado, but presence. But beware, many mistake being cold for being careless. That's a critical error. Cold means calculated. It means every move you make is chosen. Every word you speak has purpose. Every emotion you reveal is a tactic, not an accident. So ask yourself, what are your triggers? Rejection, disrespect, being misunderstood? Write them down. Face them, then strip them of their control, because until you do, you're still vulnerable. And in a world this competitive, vulnerability is blood in the water. When your mind becomes a fortress, you gain the ultimate advantage: unpredictability. People can't manipulate what they can't read. They can't attack what they can't touch. And when the world realizes they can't provoke, tempt, or guilt you into submission, they begin to respect you or fear you. Either one serves. Write it down now. My mind is my fortress. Say it, build it, because every moment you delay, the cracks in your walls grow wider. In the next part, we take the control you've built inside and project it outward. Because what people see, what they believe you are, is just as powerful as what you actually are. Welcome to the power of perception. Perception is the silent architect of power. It builds thrones, topples giants, and elevates men before they've earned the crown. People may claim they want truth, but they follow what they see, what they believe. And belief is shaped not by substance, but by image. Michael learned this when he realized that being competent wasn't enough. He had rebuilt his life, his business, and his mind. But something was missing. Others didn't yet treat him like the man he had become. That's when he understood. Reality only matters when it aligns with perception. Until then, people see what they want, not what is. Niccolo Machiavelli said it best: everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you truly are. So craft the appearance, not as a lie but as strategy. In a world obsessed with symbols, become one. A man who radiates certainty even in doubt. A man who looks untouchable, even if the storm rages quietly within. This isn't about arrogance, it's about ownership. People are suggestible. They follow strength, composure, direction. If you appear composed, they assume competence. If you look like a leader, they follow, even if they don't understand why. Because humans are wired to seek safety and certainty. If you can project that certainty, they will orbit around you. Michael began to use silence, not as a retreat, but as a weapon. He stopped explaining himself. He let others wonder. He slowed his speech, held eye contact longer, moved with intention. Every room he entered, he claimed, not with words but with presence. And people noticed. They leaned in. They measured their words, because presence is power. Understand this. People test what looks weak. They use what looks needy, but they follow what looks unmovable. If you carry yourself like you don't need approval, the world will want yours. It's not magic. It's psychology. So ask yourself, how do others perceive you? Not who you think you are, but who they experience. Do you move with clarity or hesitation? Do you command attention or request it? Your image is not just a reflection, it's a tool. Shape it, sharpen it, and use it. But here's the warning. Perception without inner control is a house of cards. Eventually, it collapses. That's why everything we've built so far, discipline, restraint, emotional mastery, must anchor your image. Because when perception meets authenticity, you become unstoppable. Now, declare it. I am the presence they obey. Speak it with conviction, not because it's a boast, but because it's a blueprint. In the next part, we expand this aura into influence, strategically shaping the people around you to serve your vision, your rise, your power. Perception opens the door. Influence walks through it. No man becomes powerful alone. That myth of the self-made king, it's a fantasy. The truth is, every ruler stands on the backs of others. Some are supporters, some are pawns, some are threats, but all are tools. Influence isn't about surrounding yourself with friends. It's about building a structure where everyone around you serves your rise, even if they don't know it. Michael used to believe that loyalty was the foundation of success. He gave trust freely. He treated colleagues like family. But when hard times came, that family scattered. It wasn't betrayal, it was self-interest. And once he saw it for what it was, he stopped building friendships and started building power. Here's the truth. Every person in your life is either an asset or a liability. They are either helping you build or they are silently draining your momentum. Influence means knowing which is which and acting accordingly. Step 1. Observe. Study the people around you, not what they say, but what they do when no one's watching. What do they crave? Validation, money, status. What do they fear? Rejection, isolation, irrelevance. Influence begins when you stop reacting and start watching. Step 2. Position. Place people in roles that benefit your vision. Some are meant to protect, some are meant to distract others, some are meant to serve, and some, only temporarily, are meant to shun. But never mistake their usefulness for loyalty. Usefulness is the only currency that matters in the game of power. Step 3. Control. Give just enough that they feel empowered, never enough that they become independent. Let them believe their rise is tied to your presence. When people depend on you for opportunity, they protect you by protecting themselves. That's strategic entanglement. Michael stopped asking who was loyal. He started asking who had something to lose by letting him fall. That's the only loyalty that counts, the kind built on aligned interest, not sentiment. But understand this, you will still face betrayal. It's inevitable. When it comes, respond with precision, swiftly, quietly, publicly if necessary. Machiavelli advised this for a reason. Hesitation in punishment breeds more enemies. Mercy without fear is weakness. Build your network like a chessboard. See every piece for what it is. The pawn who's ambitious, the knight who's reckless, the bishop who plays both sides. Don't hate them, use them. Respect their utility. Never depend on their loyalty. This is the architecture of influence. It's not emotional. It's strategic. You are not building friendships. You are building leverage. And when done right, they will carry you to the top, believing it was their idea all along. Now, write it. I control the game. Not because it's arrogant, but because it's accurate. If you don't control the game, someone else will. And you'll become a piece on their board. In the next part, we turn from strategy to legacy. Influence can be temporary, but a legacy is what makes a person's contributions memorable. Short-term success is appealing, but a lasting legacy is what ensures your work endures. Great leaders are not just remembered for their position, they are remembered because their positive impact extended far beyond their own time. This lasting echo of positive influence is what defines a legacy. Michael once believed legacy was about being well regarded, leaving behind pleasant memories and kind stories. But he came to understand a deeper idea. People remember significant contributions. They remember those who made a real difference, who innovated, who built, and who led with conviction. History remembers not just those who were popular, but those who were thought-provoking and widely discussed, as they presented new perspectives and encouraged deeper understanding. He made his mark on history not through ease, but through clarity. That is a worthy goal, not just to be acknowledged, but to create something lasting. A legacy is about being influential, a presence that helps shape the future so completely that the world is different because you were part of it. And that kind of influence is developed, not discovered. It requires moving beyond weakness, hesitation, and dependency. So what does creating a legacy ask of you? Discipline, determination, vision. You cannot make a lasting contribution if you follow a common path, distracted, seeking constant approval, and guided by fleeting feelings. You must be the one who moves with purpose when others are without direction, who builds while others simply wait. Michael's turning point came when he stopped chasing relevance and started building permanence. He asked himself one brutal question. When I die, what will echo in the minds of those I leave behind? A polite man? A helpful one? Or a man who changed things, who shaped outcomes, who made his presence impossible to ignore? The answer scared him. And that fear fueled transformation. He began to live like he had no time to waste, no energy for weakness, no tolerance for excuse. He didn't seek applause, he sought results. And with time, even his enemies spoke his name with a tone of respect they didn't want to admit. You don't build legacy in one grand act. You build it in 1,000 small choices, every early morning, every denied temptation, every silence when you want to scream, every step forward when it's easier to stay still. Legacy is discipline multiplied by time. Here's the brutal part. Most men will vanish. Their names will be forgotten. Their lives erased by dust and distraction. But the few, those who live with relentless focus, will linger. Their names will echo. Their lessons will live, their presence will remain. Ask yourself this right now. Are you building something that will outlive you? Or are you chasing comfort that will die with you? Be honest, then act. Write this and burn it into your identity. My name will outlive me, not as a wish, as a command. Because if you don't live like your legacy matters, you'll leave none worth remembering. Next, we rise into the final tier, where everything comes together. Where control, perception, influence, and legacy merge into something greater. Ascension, the final transformation of the untouchable man. This is where the ascent becomes permanent, where control is no longer a strategy, it is your nature. Where fear, influence, and discipline converge into something few men ever reach, the state of being untouchable. Michael had risen. Not because he was the smartest, not because he was the strongest, but because he refused to be ordinary. Every loss he suffered became a lesson, every betrayal a sharpening, Every moment of weakness, a test he chose to pass. That's what ascension looks like. Not perfection, but relentless progress. The final ascension is not loud. It's not broadcast on social media. It's not validated by applause. It's quiet, lonely, relentless. You are no longer chasing motivation. You are now fueled by principle. You don't need external pressure. You've become self-enforcing. Every day you operate under a silent contract with yourself to improve, to dominate, to endure. But here's the truth they won't tell you. If you ascend, you will be hated. You will be misunderstood. You will be feared. And that's good. That's necessary. Because the higher you rise, the more uncomfortable you make those who refuse to rise themselves. Let them hate. Let them whisper. Their fear is confirmation that you've outgrown their rules. Ascension requires sacrifice. Comfort must die. Distraction must be starved. Weakness must be hunted down and eliminated. You don't negotiate with laziness. You don't reason with fear. You execute them daily, ruthlessly. Michael gave up things most men worship. He stopped chasing approval. He walked away from circles that fed his ego but starved his growth. He embraced solitude not as punishment, but as clarity. And in that silence, he found something few ever will. Identity without interference. Now it's your turn. No more pretending, no more waiting. Everything we've built, self-control, emotional mastery, manipulation, influence, legacy, culminates here, in the decision to become the man no one can shake, no one can stop, no one can ignore. You don't need to scream your worth. The fortress of your presence will speak for you. You don't need to announce your power. The weight of your choices will prove it. The untouchable man doesn't ask for permission. He moves, he acts, he conquers. So ask yourself one final time, are you building comfort or are you building power? Are you living for applause or are you constructing permanence? Now declare it, silently or aloud, I am untouchable, not as a boast, but as a commitment. Because when you own that, when you live that, the world can no longer define you. You define it. In the final part, we bring it all home. One last message, one last truth, and the beginning of your command. Stay sharp, because endings are illusions. The real game begins when others think you're finished. Endings are a lie. The world talks about them as if they matter. But true power never ends. It expands. It mutates. It deepens. What looks like a finish line is just a checkpoint. And for the untouchable man, every chapter closed is just another reason to sharpen the blade. Michael didn't stop after his rebirth. He didn't celebrate the return of his business, the restoration of his influence, or the fear he now inspired in weaker minds. He kept building, not because he wasn't satisfied, but because he understood. Satisfaction is a trap. The moment you believe you've arrived, you begin to decline. That's why the final phase isn't success. It's sustainability, the ability to remain powerful, not once, not twice, but every single day until your final breath, and that requires vigilance. Because enemies don't attack when you're weak. They wait until you relax, until you think you're safe. But the untouchable man never relaxes into weakness. He relaxes into control. He prepares not out of fear, but out of discipline. His routines become sacred, his principles become law, and his mind becomes immune to trends, opinions, and temptation. Power, when sustained, becomes culture. Your habits infect those around you. Your presence shapes environments. People conform to your frame, not because you force them, but because your standards expose their lack of them. Michael began mentoring others, not out of charity, but out of strategy. He understood that legacy isn't just what you leave behind, it's what you replicate while you're still alive. He didn't spoon-feed wisdom. He demonstrated it through consistency, through control, through the quiet confidence of a man who doesn't need praise to stay sharp. The lesson is this: never stop reinforcing the foundation. Revisit your values, reaffirm your rules, reforge your mindset, because power doesn't die from attack. It dies from erosion, from slowly letting things slide, from tiny compromises that rot the fortress from within. So what are you still letting slide? Where are you slipping into old patterns, into softness, into dependence? Identify it. Kill it, now. Because sustainability requires cold honesty. No delusion, no pretending, only pressure, precision, and principle. And now, ask yourself this: Who are you becoming when no one is watching? That answer is the true measure of power. Public displays of strength are common, but private discipline is rare. Affirm this daily. I'm building my inner resolve. Believe it and let it be your guide. If you don't nurture your focus, it's easy to get sidetracked. Next, we move to the final principle, the call to turn reflection into action and philosophy into behavior. This is how you make your progress tangible. Potential without action is just an idea. A goal without momentum is a dream. You have built the foundation, gained clarity, and shaped a resilient mindset. Now comes the most important step: act. Michael's success was not built on his beliefs alone, but on the consistent actions he took, especially when no one was watching. Especially when no one is watching. True strength isn't declared. It's demonstrated through choices, habits, and quiet dedication. A person with this mindset rises early, preparing while others rest and planning while others are distracted. They don't talk about leadership, they live it by example. Eventually, their circumstances reflect their efforts. You can either adapt to your reality or work to shape it. Many people hesitate at this step, not from a lack of ability, but from overthinking and wanting more reassurance. However, a focused individual doesn't wait. They build momentum from discipline, not fleeting feelings. They act with purpose and listen carefully. When they speak, their words are considered. So what does this action look like for you? It's found in your daily rituals and your ability to delay gratification for long-term goals. Your refusal to make decisions from weakness. Action isn't always grand. Often, it's quiet, repetitive, unseen, but it compounds. Your mind? It must be trained daily. Reading isn't enough. You must execute what you learn. Your body? It must reflect discipline. Not for vanity, but for proof. You control what's hard to control. Your time? It must be sacred. No more endless scrolling. No more reactive living. Every hour, a weapon. Every moment, a choice. Michael stopped chasing goals. He built systems, routines that removed decision-making. Because greatness doesn't come from willpower, it comes from structure. He didn't try to be motivated. He became inevitable. This is your call to do the same. Enough absorbing, enough planning. Now is the moment to begin moving as the man you've built in your mind. Ruthless with your focus, relentless with your boundaries, patient with your mission, violent with your discipline. No more asking who you are. Decide. No more waiting for permission. Take. No more leaning. Stand. Write this now. I move with intention. Let that be the trigger, the command, the ignition that turns thought into force. Because in the next part, the final part, you will not just reflect. You will declare. You will act, and you will begin the rest of your life as the untouchable man. Prepare yourself. The last door opens next. This is the final door, but unlike the others, it doesn't open with knowledge. It opens with resolve. You've studied the anatomy of control. You've dismantled dependency. You've seen through the illusion of morality. You've faced fear, mastered perception, manipulated influence, and constructed the beginnings of a legacy. Now, you must cross the threshold, not as who you were, but as who you've become. Michael stood in front of that door years ago. He was no longer broken, no longer a man seeking validation, but he hadn't yet declared himself fully. He hadn't stepped into the life that matched his mindset. That's where most falter. They build the fortress, then hesitate to walk into battle, not out of fear of losing, but fear of letting go of the old identity. Let it go. That version of you, the people pleaser, the excuse maker, the soft-hearted drifter who mistook kindness for strategy, is dead. And if he's not, kill him now. Because what comes next demands purity of purpose. The world you're about to enter is not fair. It is not forgiving. It will not clap for your effort or reward your good intentions. It will test you, break you, laugh at you. But if you remain who you've built, disciplined, detached, deliberate, it will yield. Slowly, then suddenly. Understand this. The untouchable man is not a myth. He is real. He walks among us. He doesn't beg. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't explain. He builds. He bends time. He changes the temperature of a room by simply entering it. This is now your responsibility. No one is coming to push you. No more mentors. No more motivation. You must now be the source, the standard, the storm. So what does this final shift look like? You stop speaking in future tense. You start moving in present action. You stop seeking approval. You start commanding space. You stop being visible everywhere. You become undeniable in silence. Michael made this shift without ceremony. No big announcement, no post, just a man who stopped needing the world and started shaping it, day by day, brick by brick, until the echo of his name meant more than the noise of thousands. Now it's your turn. Declare it in your spirit, in your habits, in your walk, in your stare. I am untouchable. Say it until doubt flees. Say it until every part of your past identity burns away. Say it until your presence becomes weight. Because this is not about being better than others. This is about being better than the version of you that accepted weakness. This is not ego, this is evolution. Next, we give you one final mission, a command to carry forward into every room you enter, every challenge you face. Because this isn't a story, it's a standard, and the world is already watching how you respond. Here is your final mission. The world will not grant you peace. It will not make room for your rise. You must seize it, command it, enforce it, not with noise, but with presence, not with aggression, but with conviction. The untouchable man does not ask. He moves, and the world moves around him. Michael didn't become a legend by chance. He did it by command. Every day was a declaration, every action a message. I am not like you, not because he thought himself superior, but because he knew what he had built inside. He no longer explained it, he embodied it. This is now your role. Your mission is not to be liked. Your mission is not to be understood. Your mission is to lead your life, your mind, your future. No apologies, no compromise. This world is built on illusion. The illusion of safety. The illusion of fairness. The illusion that someone will come and make it all right. They won't. That's your job. And now, you have the tools to do it. Every lesson you've heard, every truth you've faced has built something inside you. A foundation stronger than comfort, stronger than emotion, stronger than fear. That foundation is now your compass. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer hesitate, you calculate. You no longer wait, you move. This is what separates you now. While others scroll, you sharpen. While others chase pleasure, you chase precision. While others seek escape, you seek evolution. Let the world talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them laugh. Because while they talk, you build. While they drift, you dominate. While they fade, you remain. You are not a product of your environment. You are the architect of your influence, the master of your image, the ruler of your response. You do not need approval. You command it. You do not beg for peace. You enforce it. Now write this, not for performance, but for permanence. I command my reality. Say it until it shapes your thoughts. Say it until it hardens your spine. Say it until everything soft in you is burned away. This is your edge, your advantage, your freedom. From this moment forward, every step you take should echo power, quiet, measured, relentless. Next, the final words. A closing, but not an end. Because the mission doesn't stop. The mission expands. This is not the end. This is the ignition. The point where the story becomes reality, your reality, because everything you've read, everything you've felt, everything you faced in these words wasn't fiction. It was a mirror. And now you must choose, walk away unchanged, or rise with resolve. Michael's story wasn't unique because he fell. Everyone falls. It was powerful because he refused to stay broken. He didn't pray for rescue. He became the rescue. He didn't wait for the world to give him peace. He conquered the chaos within, then forced the world to respect it. That's now your story. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now. This is the moment where your past no longer defines you, where excuses are incinerated, where identity becomes command. From here on, you speak less. You observe more. You move with precision. You wake up before weakness can catch you. You train. Your mind, your body, your spirit, until discipline becomes instinct. You will be hated, good. You will be envied, excellent. You will be feared. That means you're rising. The goal is not acceptance. The goal is ascendancy. And let them talk. Let them doubt. Your presence will say what words cannot. You now carry the code. Control is your weapon. Emotion is your servant. Discipline is your shield. Perception is your cloak. Legacy is your fire. Do not fumble this moment by retreating into comfort. Lean into the pressure. Demand more from yourself. Raise your standards until the world has no choice but to rise or get out of your way. And when they ask what changed in you, say nothing. Just let your silence carry weight. Let your actions redefine your name. Because the untouchable man doesn't need to prove himself. He just is. Now, commit. Type it. Say it. Breathe it. I am untouchable. If this story spoke to you, share it. If it awakened something in you, don't let it die here, like this video. Subscribe to the channel, and in the comments, tell us what you're done tolerating, what you're building, who you're becoming. Your journey is just beginning. Your legacy is now under construction. And your name, it will echo long after you're gone. Because the untouchable man doesn't fade. He carves himself into time. This is your call. This is your code. This is your command.